Chief Registrar, you were having a problem with a certain name. The representative of the Inspector General of Police is Twaruhukwa Erasmus. During lunch, I'll tell you the meaning of the name. By the way, we all have problems at one point or another. I want to thank the judiciary for hosting this gathering. It's really a family gathering, and I don't think anything should be a point of dissension. Your Excellency, the Vice President, you are representing the head of the family called Uganda. It is up to you to report that some members of the family are not happy about one thing or another. And it's up to him to decide what to do. Because if you're head of a family, obviously you are at peace if everybody is as happy as possible. So, Mr. President of the Uganda Law Society, we take what you have said as homework, really. I don't think any of us is going to take time to respond point by point to your lamentations. They are obviously well-intentioned. So I'm sure our guest of honor will transmit that voltage live without insulating the head of the family from the currents. I wish to congratulate you, my Lord, the Chief Justice, for starting off this week with reflection. To me, this is just a celebration. This is really a culmination of what you have been doing all through this week. Your theme was a people-centered justice system. Of course, we are called the Republic of Uganda because we are not a monarchy. It's the people who are sovereign. So if you look at our country as a solar system, you then have the people at the center. They are the sun. And then the other branches of government are the planets. They all have their orbits. But like the Attorney General said, those branches of government are not disjoint sets because they are part of a system. That's why we call it a solar system. Therefore, sometimes there is tension. What matters is that whatever tension is there should not be unhealthy as to destroy the system altogether, because then there will be nothing left. Therefore, celebrating this occasion after the 25th Annual Judges Conference is most appropriate. It's also not lost to me that we are in the shadows of two new towering structures that now rumor has will be opened at a later date, giving us yet another excuse to come and have fun at your pleasure, my Lord the Chief Justice. These towers, I understand, have become a great source of embarrassment to government agencies that have building sites that have been covered with iron sheets for years and years. Government officials go and cut tape to do what they call groundbreaking. And that is all that happens. The ground is broken and nothing happens. Basically like planting sterile seeds. So this is a big challenge to the rest of government, that is actually possible to start a project as ambitious as this one is and finish it. And also to use minimum resources. I understand these two towers have cost just about 105 billion shillings, and they are furnished. I had the pleasure of accompanying His Lordship, the Chief Justice, to walk around it, and I marveled. I was whispering to the Attorney General that now we are under pressure to finish ours, the jailers' houses in Naguru. So, my Lord, you are really putting pressure on the rest of the government. I want to thank the Secretary of the Judiciary, my friend Dr. Pius Bigirimana, for his transformational leadership. This definitely is a remarkable achievement. Maybe other PSs can learn from you. Of course, Mr. Bigirimana needs to go for courses in diplomacy, but maybe it helps not to be too obsessed with being diplomatic. He is the quinine without the sugar coating. But I know that he's result-oriented, and I thank you, together with the team you work with. Of course, under the guidance of the Chief Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the entire team. I think the workspace hygiene of the judiciary has improved thanks to the leadership of the Chief Justice and the team you work with. There are many workplaces that are so toxic, nothing gets done. So we can come and pick some notes. It doesn't mean the judiciary does not have problems. You obviously have problems. So as we celebrate today, naturally, like all ministers, you are given a file with a speech. So I looked at my speech a few days ago, and I thought, this is not what I want to say. I asked myself, what's the meaning of the new law year, really, in the real sense of the word? Then my mind went back to the lunch we had on the day the 25th Annual Judges Conference was opened. At the table, we had you, my Lord, and His Lordship, the Principal Judge, and a few other people. And we were talking about how our African culture is portrayed in African literature. We talked specifically about Things Fall Apart of Chinua Achebe. For those who have read his works, you must recall an event known as the New Yam Festival. The New Yam Festival is always held at the conclusion of a harvest and the beginning of the next work cycle. The celebration is intended to tie every individual member of the Igbo community together and to focus them so that they never forget that they are really an agrarian society dependent on yam. In this gathering, our celebration is similar to the New Yam Festival, and in this case, our yam is the rule of law. That's what brings all of us together, whether we are from the police, the prisons, the military, judiciary, executive, parliament, the bar, and so on and so forth. So we celebrate the fact that we have survived famine because we are in tough economic times. We are facing even threats from our erstwhile friends, including sanctions, withdrawal of vital funds. But we are here. We survived last year. And we are now making a vow that we shall also survive this year which we are opening. During the New Yam Festival, yams are offered to the gods before being distributed to the villagers. Usually the ritual is performed either by the oldest man, the king, or an eminent title holder. Your Excellency, today you hold the most eminent title, and that's why you have come to preside over our format of the new Yam Festival. Of course, soon thereafter there will be a celebration which has been dubbed the Sherry Party. Naturally, because of the need to reflect, people talk about shortfalls, shortcomings also, and new ambitions are declared. During my speech at the 25th Annual Judges Conference, I stated, and I repeat, that the judiciary is judged by a higher standard than all the other branches of the government. I know that the president is referred to as His Excellency, and so is the vice president. And I'm sure those who are teachers here will testify that to have the word excellent written on your exam paper means you have scored something like 97% and above. But because we are politicians, somehow people are more tolerant of our follies and foibles. But with the judiciary, there is a total intolerance. You are almost in the position of Caesar's wife. You know the story. Cantankerous young man called Publius decided to invade a space which was reserved for women, and he dressed up like a woman in order to seduce Pompeia, Caesar's wife. The rumor, of course, reached Caesar. Nothing really happened. The man failed in his efforts to seduce Caesar's wife. But still Caesar went ahead and divorced Pompeia. And when he was asked why, you know that there was really no adultery, and your wife definitely had no part in whatever went on. And then he said, Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. My lord, you in the judiciary, even suspicion amounts to condemnation, unfortunately, and there's nothing you can do about it. So today, we pledge to continue explaining to the citizens of Uganda that ultimately we are really fingers of the same hand. There are complaints about the backlog, are judgments out on time. There are complaints about lack of professionalism among the lawyers. I think the president of the Uganda Law Society knew we were going to talk about it. He must have peeped into our speeches, both mine and the Attorney General's speech. I saw my classmate, Frank Othembi, the director of Law Development Center. Really, by the way, Chief Registrar, I have a lot of classmates here. If I were to name them, you would be very humble. I could even name the Chief Justice and the Deputy Chief Justice. No, truly, we are classmates in the Masters in Dispute Resolution. Of Pepperdine University. That is true. So I will spare you the embarrassment. To my friend Frank Othembi, the seeds of professionalism must be planted at the law school. By the time you are appointed a magistrate or a judge or a justice in the Court of Appeal or the Supreme Court, it's really too late. Either if the wrong seeds were planted, then they will germinate as weeds in the judiciary. And we have seen some germinating. The other day I was complaining about a garnishee order against a dead person. We have tried to experiment. Sometimes we think the answer is more judicial officers. Obviously, we need them. Sometimes we think the answer is specialized courts. Now there's a call for environmental court, allegedly to save wetlands. Sometimes we have frivolous case filings, sloppy advocacy, even dishonest pleadings. There is underrepresentation of the poor. At the Ministry of Justice, the learned Attorney General and I are trying to find out what to do about legal aid. Our international partners are pushing us to mainstream legal aid, but they are fond of pushing you to the ocean and then they abandon you. So we are determining how to cut our cloth, our coat, according to our cloth. We have to balance money making versus making a difference. The cost of justice, the quality of representation, the time it takes to resolve legal disputes, and even the quality of decision making, and the ethics of advocacy itself. So, to the bar, and by the way, I'm also a member of the bar. Unfortunately, when you join politics as early as I did, people forget that you went to school. Mr. President of the Law Society, lawyers should not just be taught how to argue and win in court. To me, the most important skill a good lawyer should have is how to decide whether to go to court in the first place. And that brings me to the Chief Justice's pet project, and also the pet project of the President of Uganda. In a speech delivered by Her Excellency the Vice President, the President endorsed fully the commitment of the judiciary and the government to focus on alternative dispute resolution. It is important that we should go beyond litigation. My call is therefore that alternative dispute resolution deserves attention, especially in legal education. The Law Development Center for long resisted including alternative dispute resolution in its curriculum. I understand Justice Kiriabwire, having got the position to chair the Committee on Legal Education there, almost had to demand with menaces that ADR should be taught at the Law Development Center. Some lawyers think ADR is bad for business because people who are not quarreling definitely don't pay lawyers. I do believe that ADR will increasingly become a factor in dispute resolution because it gives us options to settle some, not all, disputes outside the traditional forms of adjudication. Therefore, law schools have to broaden their horizon. I believe even the Attorney General's chambers will find that many disputes can be resolved cheaply. So I want to promise that we will be taking to Cabinet soon the final copy of the National ADR policy, and I do believe that it will be followed with an act of parliament. Now that the institution known as CADA is being rationalized, so the Ministry of Justice will then have to house an office for ADR to implement the regulations and also to provide guidelines for ADR practice. That is the least we can do so that your lordships and your worships can now focus on real cases, not dealing with these technicalities that many lawyers use to clog the court system. There was a breath of fresh air, Your Excellency, in the conference which you opened. It showed that the judiciary is on the offensive. Enemies of the rule of law and enemies of efficiency in the courts are still there, but I want to testify that they are on the run, and that is a good thing. My Lord, the Honorable the Chief Justice, with those many words, it's now